Let's talk about Gilgamesh. He's one of the world's oldest heroes, a legendary king from ancient Mesopotamia. But here's the thing that's so fascinating. Depending on which story you happen to pick up, you might meet two completely different men. It's a real puzzle, and it reveals something absolutely fundamental about storytelling itself. So let's try to piece it together.
I mean, really, how can one single legendary figure be the star of this dark, violent fantasy novel made for adults and also the hero of a gentle children's story about making friends? The answer isn't just about Gilgamesh, not really. It's about the incredible power that storytelling has to adapt and transform. So you might be asking, where do these wildly different versions even come from? Well, they both spring from the exact same ancient source, the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is the original story of a powerful, semi-divine king who ruled the city of Uruk thousands and thousands of years ago. This is our shared starting point.
Okay, so first, let's look at our first adaptation, a modern fantasy novel. And I should probably give a heads up, this one is absolutely not for kids. It just throws us right into this gritty, complex world of divine politics and, well, brutal conflict.
Wow. I mean, that one line just paints a brutal picture, doesn't it? It immediately sets the tone. This is not a simple tale of good versus evil. It's visceral, it's dark. And did you catch that word, satisfying? That tells us everything we need to know. We're exploring a world with a very, very different and much more complex moral compass.
And this world is just filled with these heavy, heavy themes. We're talking about wars fought between actual gods and mortals, political assassinations, and journeys into a literal underworld they call the Kur. The characters have to navigate this incredibly harsh landscape of vengeful goddesses, demons, and even slavery. It's a dense, challenging story, for sure. And the relationships, they're just as complicated. This quote, it reveals a hero who's really grappling with the consequences of his actions. You've got anger, resentment, betrayal. It's clear this version of the myth is being used to explore some very adult themes, things like regret, responsibility, and what it really means to be a flawed hero.
Okay, now take a deep breath because we are about to make a hard pivot. Let's jump over to our second version and see how the story is built in a totally different direction. This adaptation is a picture book, and it's designed to teach a pretty simple lesson to children. And right away, the contrast could not be more stark. Seriously, forget the underworld and vengeful gods. In this telling, the wild man Enkidu, who becomes Gilgamesh's best friend, is this gentle soul who lives in perfect harmony with forest creatures. The entire tone is just completely transformed.
The plot here is super straightforward and totally driven by its moral. You've got a bossy king who gets a friend, they have a fun little wrestling match, and their big adventure? It involves scaring a monster away, and then, and this part's important, planting new trees. The focus is all on friendship, taking positive action, and even a little bit of environmental stewardship. And there it is, the main takeaway, stated loud and clear. There's no ambiguity here at all. This story has a direct, simple moral about what it means to be a hero. It's about kindness, and it's about caring for others. Plain and simple. So, there we have it, our two versions. One is this dark epic of war and betrayal, and the other is a sweet fable about friendship. Now let's really put them side by side and break down this incredible contrast. Let's start with what actually drives our hero. In one story, his motivation is this massive, violent conflict against his own family, a war against his grandfather. In the other, it's the simple, pure desire to find a best friend. These two motivations, they just create entirely different narrative worlds. When you get down to it, the audience dictates everything. This table makes it crystal clear. For adults, you get complex themes of power and betrayal, told with violent language, and it all leads to a pretty ambiguous moral. For children, you get themes of friendship and kindness told with simple language and a clear, instructive lesson. The very same source material is completely transformed by who it's for. So why does this happen? What does this incredible flexibility tell us about the nature of myths themselves? Well, this gets to the real magic of these ancient tales. And this is really the core idea right here. Myths aren't rigid historical records. They're more like powerful, flexible templates. Each new generation comes along and pours its own values, its own fears, and its own lessons into them. We use their timeless framework to talk about what matters to us right now. And this whole process of retelling is just so vital. It allows a single story to serve all these different purposes at the same time. We can use it to wrestle with the darkest parts of human nature, but we can also use it to teach our kids the simplest lessons about being good to one another. And by doing that, we keep these ancient voices and their incredible stories alive for a new generation.
So, all of this leaves us with one final thought. The story of Gilgamesh isn't finished. It's constantly being reborn, which kind of makes you wonder, if you were to pick up an ancient myth, any legend from any culture, and retell it for today, what story would you choose to tell with it? What lesson would you want it to teach?